or
Can
Voldemort.
we just pause real quick? Do y'all see how my skin is glowing right now? Don't my skin look good?
Babe, I always tell you your skin looks good.
Y'all, I don't have on a lick of makeup. And I know y'all thinking we could tell Kermit the Frog, but I
No, nobody is
really
thinking that.
look at my skin. Okay, I'm ready. I'm sorry, babe. Hey, my loves, welcome back to our channel. Thank you so much for joining us again. We are back. If you did not know, I'm Zar. I'm into Zar, but you guys can call me Zar. It's my beautiful husband, Joe.
Hey, hey.
Joe, tell them where you are, what you're doing.
Yeah, we still out on this tour with Shine Down, the Revolutions live tour. Shine Down Diamante is who I'm playing with, and we are in Green Bay, Wisconsin, right now. About to get. We
Is that where
actually
you
getting
Brett
ready for a
Favre
show.
from?
Well, he ain't from here, but that's where it's actually the stadium is actually right next to us. I'm like staring at their practice field, the Packers.
Wow.
It's like right next to where we are right now. We're at the Resch Center. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
All right. So, honey's out of town and living his full life, and we are back, bright eyed, bushy tailed, to talk about Married at First Sight. It was actually a really good episode. We finally got to see them meeting with the experts, which I think we also desperately needed. Um,
desperately.
desperately, desperately. It's really it made it very clear to me, abundantly clear, that they need to be having weekly sessions with us.
I mean, it should be happening more and more and more. And this is what we've been saying for weeks and
Abundantly
weeks.
clear.
And I sat and I thought, this was such a good episode when I got done watching it. And then I thought, why was this such a good episode? Because the experts were involved. And there was a
Yep.
lot more sound advice being given. There was a
Yep.
lot more things happening that would make it conducive for them to strive after being dropped into whole marriages with complete strangers.
How about that? Let's start with Steve and Noy. So this is a really good one to watch. The problem I'm having is that I feel like Steve has so many valid points when he talks about how Noy expresses herself via social media and everything like that. And I feel like she is punishing him for not having a job. I feel like that's why she talked to him any old kind of way. I feel like that's why she not giving as much as she possibly could. Like y'all was supposed to be the people who said they love each other. I don't even believe that shit.
Well, I don't believe one. I don't. I don't
Why
believe that.
say it like
I don't believe that at all. Two, I think there's something there to. This Stephen Noy to me is the epitome of my favorite saying. Two things could be true, right? And I think the reason being is because I think in this episode we found out that there is absolutely a bit of retaliation coming from Noy.
It's not up for debate.
It's not up for debate in regards to how she moves in a relationship, which is not good at all. So we found out that yes, that is a thing. We also found out that Steve has come in a little bit aloof as to what to expect in a marriage and what to expect from his wife. Like one of the statements that he made that floored me, and we was talking about it on Twitter. Shout out anybody who's watching from Twitter.
Like, I'm annoyed that you be talking to people on Twitter and I'm not around. Like I feel left out.
Oh, I know, because you typically are. But one of the things he said, it was like, and I tweeted it out. I said, so wait a minute. Steve came into this process, married a person without a job, and then said that it was a red flag that the woman was uncomfortable that he didn't have a job, right?
That's what the fuck I'm saying.
That is like wow to me. Like,
he
bro,
talk to us in circles. Like,
what is happening? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Yeah, like that's not a red flag. So it's one of those things where I think that it was very good that I think it was Dr. Pepper came into their situation and gave some sound advice on one, having having the tough conversations, having conversations that advance what your feelings, advance your relationship to the point where you guys are conversing and sharing valuable information and not just like elevator talk, right?
Right.
And so I think that was one of the better things that I heard exchanged within the counselors, and just the aspect of like, you need to sit down and give a plan of what it is. Because I get the one thing that Noy said a couple weeks ago was that which told me there's layers to this, right? We learned about her past, and I think that it was very good for Pastor Kyle to say, like, this is obviously something that is traced back to your past, which is why we need more experts, right? Because that everything is coming from somewhere, right? So
because these people were just single. They weren't even in a fucking relationship. So how do they think that they're going to be able to navigate marriage?
Right. And to put it plainly, like Pastor Kyle said, you want, one of the things that you need in your current day relationship is stability, because that's something that you did not have in the past, which makes sense. What woman does not want stability in her marriage? So I think that, like we said, there was a lack of communication there that we have been talking about within their situation that has really plagued them on this issue. It's just like no talking going on, no communication on both ends, right? Two things to be true on both ends. So I think that was great that Pastor Kyle came in and dropped some nuggets on them.
And I'm glad that Dr. Pepper kind of like let him know, like, like you still have to contribute, like, you know what I mean? Right. And imagine the fear that somebody would have not knowing you and thinking that I got to take on all of this, right? Because I don't have a financial partner,
right? And what I think the other underlying thing was that she talked about, they didn't get to it this episode, but she talked about it I think a week ago or a couple weeks ago. She was the motivation aspect. She said she felt like Steve is not really motivated. She felt like and that was this thing that she said that made her uncomfortable about being in her spouse, which I also understand. I have a friend who pretty much divorced his wife because of this same thing. Like, they got to a point where it wasn't a financial thing at all. Like, he was taking care of the finances. They were good financially, but he would just come home and she would just be on the couch. Like, it just got progressively like she was just very unmotivated and wasn't doing anything. And he got like, what's going on? It just went the wrong direction, but a myriad of other things were probably at play. But the point is, I get it. I've seen this before where some people need to be with a person who has a motor. They have to see, and some people need that
self-starter.
Some people need that
self-starter.
Yeah.
But I do think that motivation, sometimes I think that as you grow in marriage, right, your motivations change. And you do realize you are motivated by the person that you're with.
Right.
Like, am I a self-starter in some regards? Yes. But a lot of what I do, a lot of the businesses that I have and everything like that is to keep my household running a certain way. I have a standard of living that I have expectations, I intend on holding that up. And I think that that's the motivator for me. Like, if otherwise I just wouldn't, you know what I mean, do it. And I think that he has been able to middle and muddle through life. And I don't want to say with the bare minimum, but minimalistically. And I think that when you get somebody who wants to live abundantly, and by abundantly, that means have things, be able to go on trips and pay for things and whatever the case may be, you do kind of gotta, like, I'm still stuck on the fact that he has not provided her with a plan.
Right.
And at first I thought it was her, and now what's becoming increasingly clear is that it's the fucking.
Yeah.
And it's annoying the hell out of me.
Yeah, right. Because it's like, this could be so simple. Like, you know what I mean?
It could all be so simple. But you'd rather make it hard.
It could all be so simple.
Like, I just don't. And I feel like the issue is that, and I'm pulling an annoy. The issue is that he has so many valid points about his feelings about her on social media and shit. But the fact that you know what I mean, brought me in front of the fifth floor, you motherfucker out here, Tommy in it, you ain't got no goddamn job. I'm supposed to just be like, Oh, what did you ghost? Like, are you
Yeah.
about to like explain it to me?
And
Like, are you like
let me tell you, we know from experience with dealing with family members that you need to know what your spouse does because you could be surprised in the wrong way. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. Okay.
that's
Let's
what
just
I'm
be clear.
saying.
It's understandable, especially if this is a stranger, because we've been adjacent
Maybe
to
a stranger.
we've been adjacent to situations where it wasn't a stranger and we had a family member finding out stuff about this person's work life that was jarring, right? And so it's like you can't just
But
expect
now I'm
some
like
you
thinking
can't
about
just
who is it?
you can't just but you can't just go through life, especially with somebody who you just met, and be like, don't worry, I got it. Like, no, that does not work. Like, just
Like,
trust
do
me. Just
you
trust me.
know? And I'm glad I'm getting to see this like progress because obviously your feelings about things change, right? And I feel like Steve is trying to Jedi mind trick us
Yeah.
all. The
Yeah.
experts, us,
Yeah.
like everything. Noi, even what did they had a conversation at a table? Let me look at my notes. They had a conversation about him getting a full-time job.
Oh, was that this episode?
Yeah.
Oh, because I was thinking about the last time they had a conversation at the table, and he told her, "If I work, who's gonna run the dishwasher?"
But he really is trying to make it like him having to work is really going to affect their home life, their relationship. Like you
Yeah,
really, and I'm saying this from a space of being like in tech and knowing how burnt out people can be. And he's an engineer, a sales engineer, and everything like that. So I get it. But my thing is that he, it's not up for debate. Steve could go out there and find a part time job making $200 an hour. It's not up for debate. And y'all could bank me on that. I'm telling you, like, you know what I mean? Like,
and
after
I
doing some research, he could work 20 hours a week, make full time money, and keep it moving. You
and,
just
and
don't want to work.
and the other thing is too, which came up when the experts were probing a little bit more. Noi was saying something to the effect of like, I don't, because, which is valid because she doesn't know him, right? But for a month, she's like, I don't know if he can even hold down a job. Being with somebody who you just met, you really don't know the background, right? You don't know, are they a trust fund baby? Have they not worked at all in their life? Do they have, if he does have $50,000 sitting in the bank account, was it just something that was given to him, or was it inherited? Like, so these are
Right.
all questions that are
Because
valid.
you may not even be able to save.
Right. And you might not even be able to hold down a solid job, right? You
Yeah.
might be hopping from job to job or whatever. You might be brilliant. You might be a brilliant entrepreneur. But again, these are all things that if I just met you a month ago and we barely talk or we talk surface, I don't really know these things. So we need to have deeper conversations about that so I can be a little bit more comfortable in saying yes on decision day.
Let me tell you this though. The Noi ended it with not you, Pastor Kyle,
She should.
Jesus Christ, okay, or Beyonce gonna come down here and tell me what the fuck to do on my Instagram. Imagine being a big grown person arguing with another adult about what you're gonna post on Instagram. Like y'all really be thinking that shit is real life. Instagram is
The,
not real. It is a
Instagram is not,
figment of your imagination.
but
Y'all
but
are in the matrix.
but
Okay.
but Noi has to stop this retaliation thing
And that's all it
that she's
is.
doing, because
And
that's
that's
all
all it
that is.
is.
The Instagram thing,
Ugh.
like, no, girl, you're wrong.
It
Okay,
almost makes me
like
not
you're
like her.
wrong.
And
Yeah,
I don't
like
want to even like
you're wrong.
assign
You
the
cannot,
feelings to her. But the more I watch Noi, the more I find Noi annoying.
because
Okay.
because that's immature. It's funny because Wakil on Twitter said the same thing. He was like, "No, it's just starting to annoy me." Like, because it's immature, right? Like
But oh, I'm about to say something.
this retaliation thing of like, well, I'm not getting what I want, so I'm gonna post whatever I want, and I don't care what you say about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's your husband, sis.
But you know
Like,
what else? You know what else always strikes me? She says, "I always get what I want." I work for hard for what I want, and I usually get what I want. Girl, you had to come on here and get a fucking husband from like out of nowhere, from the clear blue sky. If I can't believe that's what you wanted, like
yeah,
you know what I
right,
mean, like
right.
girl, bye. Like I hate the problem is it's becoming obnoxious
Yeah,
And
she's not handling this well.
it's not, and I really wanna dig into Steve, but when you're aligned with somebody who is kind of like, it's not even that she's a bad person. She
No.
is passive aggressive.
Yeah,
And
which is
it's
annoying.
and then try to cover it up like, oh well, I can't communicate like that. It's too hard. And then turn around and say, well, kiss my ass. I don't want to do like you the same girl who said that.
Yeah,
Y'all
yeah,
really be slow. And that's why Noi wants to be alone. And that's just
yeah.
and it's just that and Steve Steve child. Let's move on. First of all, another couple who I feel like we keep getting the fucking run around with. Like I feel like every time we speak to Jasmina, well, I feel like it's going well, but I feel
Oh
like
Lord,
it just needs to be more. And I feel like, and it's just like, it's so clear to me
I'm
that
tired of watching it.
I'm tired. I'm tired. I am
Like,
so, it's the slowest dumpster fire
I
I've
mean,
ever
the slow
witnessed.
burn dumpster fire. Like, y'all cannot be serious with this whole thing. And I wish that somebody would actually hold her feet to the fire as far as the experts. And that's the thing that they really do not do.
I don't
It,
feel like I know you as a person. This man sat on the floor, cried in your face, and told you about the death of his mother, his sibling. You know what I mean? Like how that changed his dynamic. We saw that part.
right.
And I'm not saying that's the full scope of him, but you yourself just a couple episodes said he's talking to me more. We're having conversations during the day. That's how you get to know people.
Right.
Joe, no, I'm still asking Joe probie questions every time me and Joe talk. I'm like, well, what do you think about this? Or, have you ever done that? Or whatever the case may be. You're
Because
constantly
people are
asking me
layers.
stuff.
People are layers, and you can be with somebody. They. I have known Zar since she was 16 years old, right? You can really have spent a long time with a person, done life with a person, and still be getting to know them every day. I'm getting to know my wife every day as we change and grow, right? So there's different things to know about us. The things that I like to eat today is not the things that I like to eat when we was in high school. So these
No,
are
they
these are
not. 'Cause
these are new. How about that? These are new areas, new areas to explore about each other. There's constant, but we know the real ones know this. This is all bullshit. This is all gaslighting. We all know this. Like, I'm not saying anything that anybody hasn't
it
married,
is.
anybody hasn't been in a real relationship doesn't know. So
But y'all
so
been
Jess,
together a month. You thought you was gonna know his secrets and
no,
all this.
no, she didn't. No, she didn't. But this is a very convenient and polite, politically correct excuse
It
to
is polite.
use so she can walk up out of this thing relatively unscathed, and viewed in a much better light than Alyssa.
I just really think that I'm tired of hearing. I want to talk about what Pastor Kyle said to Michael, and I also want to talk about how they chose who got to sit with who, because I think that this is going to be a point of contention for why, and this is kind of moving us forward. Olajuwon had the situation that he had with Dr. Pepper.
Right.
So Pastor Kyle and Michael come, they sit down, whatever the case may be, and one of the points that he kind of brought up that I thought was so important, he said that Jasmina was kissing him out of obligation. She felt like she was kissing him out of obligation, not because she wanted to.
She said that. That's what
She
she
said
said to
that.
him. She said
Imagine
that to
saying
Michael.
that to somebody like that. First of all, I find that to be hurtful. Because
It
if
is.
I'm on the butt end of that, my feelings are hurt. Like my
Of
feelings are
course.
hurt for him to having to hear that. I know she was being honest,
And
but that
anybody
wasn't
would
what
have
they.
pulled back. Anybody would have pulled back in that stance. I know Pastor Kyle jumped on Michael for pulling back. And that uh,
I'm having a day,
yeah,
y'all.
you
Please
are.
forgive me. I'm all
Um,
over the place.
I know Pastor Kyle jumped on Michael for pulling back, and I just thought that he should have had a little bit more finesse in that conversation, because that's a human emotion. You tell me I reach out to grab your hand and you slap my hand away, I'm not going to give you my hand again. That's a human emotion. And I think to be rejected like that
Because that's
physically,
what it was.
a physical rejection is a thing, and that is a very basic human emotion. It's not a Michael issue. It's not like that is at
No.
all. So I thought that he should have approached that Pastor Kyle a little bit better, because nobody is going to push to initiate contact with somebody who just tells them I was only having contact with you because it was my obligation to.
But then you want this same person to turn around and tell you all of their thoughts and this and that.
Yeah.
Like what people
And
don't
be
get is that
vulnerable.
communication, and this is how I know Jasmina is not a good communication. Communication is primarily nonverbal. So that means that like touching, you know what I mean? Like the facial expressions you make, all of that is you communicating something to somebody else. So if that's the case, right? The reason why you don't feel connected is because the fuck you are not.
Right.
It's like
Right.
literally, do you know what? We saw this man cry in your face and you just was like,
Mm-hmm.
like,
But we're also talking about how what he did last week. We talked about it last week when he did the nice gesture for her, and I said that I could see in her communication and her body language that she didn't. It did nothing. It does nothing for her, and she gives him dust in reaction because we talked about how when I do stuff for you, I can feel it, and even if you don't say it, it's in the body language, it's in your face, it's in the communication, and she gives dust to him.
The problem is that, and the reason why Jasmina stresses me out, one, I believe that all women should be able to have, all people should have the spouses that they want, right? But I also feel like I watched this unfold as somebody who signed up to be married to a stranger. And I think two things. You signed up for this to be seen. And that only. Like I don't feel like I'm trying to find the genuine part of you that actually wanted to be married. Nothing about Jasmina gives hopeless romantic. Nothing about her. Like you can see that when people, Katina got cursed out at a table full of motherfuckers she just met and still found a way to be like, I'm hanging in here with my, you know what I mean? And not to say that's what you got to deal with. I'm just saying like, it really is telling that this man could do all these things. How much pouring does he have to do until your cup is full?
Right.
How much? What does he actually have to do? Then they had the conversation. What annoyed the dog shit out. First of all, I didn't like the conversation that she had with Dr. Pepper because I feel like Dr. Pepper didn't push back. Like I felt like
she didn't.
What do you mean? Like, first of all, this man has done boom, 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 boom. What exactly do you need? Because what it's showing is that you need to be single. It's showing that you need to be without a spouse. Because if you're not showing up a certain way, then like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right.
But what I didn't like is they have the conversation together. And she said, well, first of all, I don't like the way she speaks. She talks to, Dr. Pepper spoke to Lindsey about forecasting, but not Jasmina. Right. Nobody talks to Jasmina about how she speaks in these situations and how important it is not to say negative things. Y'all speak that shit into your relationship. It's like, she like, well, I mean, I want it to be great, but I can't help but feel like it might not be enough or be afraid that it, like, that's forecasting. Yep. And what did Michael say? Michael said, well, we're going to make it enough.
Yep.
What does it need to be for it to be enough?
Yeah.
Just do what I just said do.
Yeah, that's how she talked to. But we talked about this before. Pretty privilege is a real thing, and we see it playing out in front of us live every week with Jasmina, especially like you say when she meets with the experts. Like they don't bring it to her like they bring it to everybody else.
I'm almost of the belief she was never in a relationship where anybody required her to be a present partner. I'm almost of the belief that she, and this is going to be so, I'm about to say something very rude and disrespectful. Okay. And I'm going to say sorry to Jasmina in advance, but I got to get this up off my chest. It's giving, I've either been a side chick or a mistress or a sneaky link, because her inability to show up in an emotional way, or not even show up in an emotional way, feel responsible for the feelings of her spouse and herself, it's very fascinating to me. Yeah. It's giving that I've either never been in a position where I have to be beholden to somebody else. Even if you're a boyfriend and girlfriend, you still have responsibilities to each other. Right. It's giving that she's never even experienced that. Right. Because I feel like we building something from the ground up. This grown ass man sat in your big grown face and asked you, what does it need to be to make it enough? Well, just do what I just said. But if I asked you that question, if the expectation was for you to show up and say boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
This is at the bare minimum where we need to be, because that's not what you said.
No, actually, that requires actually being transparent. That
She
requires
wears me
actually
out.
being vulnerable. And these are things that you can't tap into those places when you are just really here so you don't get fined. Like, she's here to get her check for the day
And we want you
and
to get a
move
good
on.
check, girl. You better be a goddamn whatever them goddamn models, AMG, GMA, whatever them goddamn models are. You better be that bitch when you leave here, because this is going to do, if you guys don't stay together,
They
Michael gonna be
won't.
on demon time after this. I
Yeah.
really think, and I wouldn't even be upset with him for doing it, because I really be like, I'm a girl's girl, guys, and I always cape for women and everything like that. Even when you hear stories of men getting dogged out by women and stuff, and how I'm always like, well, what he do? You know how I am. Well, what he do
Mhm.
got to be like that? I am watching this and thinking, put this man out his misery and stop fucking trying to play us like we don't have eyes.
Yeah.
We grown people.
Yeah, we
You ain't
see
kissed
through
this
it.
man. You ain't. I'm kissing you out of obligation.
Yeah, we see through it. And then to say these things to him and then expect him to continue to push forward. Just, he's supposed to be a robot. You're supposed to be able to dump whatever, all of these things onto him. I need you to do more. I need you to do this. I don't feel this, so I need you to do this. I need Michael, 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 Michael. And then you can say whatever you need to say out your mouth, however you need to say it, especially off camera, because it's no coincidence that she said what she said to him about kissing him out of obligation off camera.
It's
It was
not up
very
to that.
conscious and calculated. So you can say God knows what to him off camera
I
and
didn't
have
even
him.
think about it like
Oh,
that.
absolutely. You could say God knows what to him off camera and preserve your PR. And he's supposed to just continue to pour into you, continue to show up every day, continue to listen and turn to your thoughts and feelings into actions. And he's supposed to do that until decision day. Like, that shit is whack.
So let me tell you, and you tell me if this is a superpower or not, or if this is like, and this is, I'm speaking from experience. I'm one of those, like, a lot of people, I'm not like a big, and I've said this before, I'm not like a big physical person, like, oh, he got to be this tall or this fine. I'm not even like that. I'm blessed that my husband is beautiful, but if he wasn't, we would still rock out, right? I feel like people don't see the value in people being good to you. See, y'all so locked up in what somebody's supposed to look like, what they're supposed to have, that when you experience somebody who wants to be good to you, here's what you say, try to provide you with that, whatever the case may be, y'all will find the most minuscule bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most fascinating thing to me. And it's really why I go back and say, I always used to think like, and this is naivety on my side. Everybody wants to be married, companionship, whatever the case may be. But a lot of y'all, just because of who y'all are and how y'all move today, you may evolve, just don't need to do it. I just find her to be somebody. She is what I do applaud her on. She is an unmovable force.
Oh,
She
I
will
mean,
not do a motherfucking thing she don't want to do, and I applaud her for that. I
she
just
but she also has a lot of finesse, and it is a
it's a
skill.
sleight of hand.
She's a master manipulator. She's a magician, because
And she
the
moves
way
the
she
goalposts
fleecing
every
y'all. Oh,
time.
all the time, all the time,
It's
all the
so
time.
wild.
And the way that she's finessing some of y'all as viewers is just beyond me. I see some of the comments. Somebody said,
Tell me.
one of my friends literally on Twitter said, well, you know what, I think Jasmina and Michael got something special if they could stick it out. Something special. She needs to start a residency in Vegas doing magic. If she got some of y'all calling what that is something special, that is wild to me. That was a wild comment.
She literally terrorized this man, but like low dosed it
Yeah,
for
like
months.
for
Like,
months, she is keeping this going. I mean, she is a masterclass for Alyssa, because Alyssa is probably looking at her like, this is what I was trying to do. I was
literally.
trying to get this check, not do anything, give him dust, but still be on the show, but still be seen in the good light. I mean,
Still live in an apartment.
yeah, like
You laughing. It's so tired. It's
it
so
is.
tired. And I really wish for Jasmina a beautiful modeling contract. And I hope if she's really, I don't even believe she really in this, if I'm being honest.
She's not, but I knew she
I
wasn't.
don't even like to watch Jasmina and Michael on the screen anymore.
I don't either because it's very awkward. It's very awkward.
I literally fast forward most times because I'm like, I mean, I don't, I'm lying, guys. But in my mind, I am fast forwarding because I'm like, you're not going to give us anything, nothing to talk about. You're not doing anything. You don't even like this motherfucker enough to kiss him in the mouth, child. We've been kissing since we was what, 8, 9, you know what I mean? Like a little,
Yeah.
you can't, a motherfucker every night.
Yeah.
Y'all be really trying it like y'all holier than now, and a lot of y'all is only ho. Holier than now. It's not you. It's
gone.
only her. Okay.
Yeah, it ain't there.
All right, let's talk about Mark and Lindsey. This was really a good one. I really enjoyed watching them kind of unpack this. But let me tell y'all, and this is how I know y'all don't listen to me. Pastor Cal sat in front of Mark, you included, Joe, and said exactly what I say all the time. If you just show up in this relationship, you will get a different Lindsey. But you literally do all these things to be like, I ain't dealing with that. I ain't dealing with that. I ain't dealing with that. So now she feels like she has to balloon in the room and fill the room up with her space. And you're not making a space for you. And that's because of you, not because of Lindsey. And it's like he needs to have some kind of accountability. Watching Mark talk about his mom and his dad and their relationship, this was the best professional session the entire night. Watching Dr. Pepper with Lindsey and Mark and Pastor Cal.
The Pastor Cal and Mark thing was definitely needed because, again, like we said, all of this stuff goes back from somewhere. But regarding Lindsey, two things can be true. Mark absolutely needs to show up, but Lindsey is nasty. And if you've ever
1,000%.
so I completely that's why I don't dump on Mark, because if it is almost impossible to do conflict resolution with somebody who immediately goes to nasty. And if you listen to Mark explain their conflict, that's at the heart of it a lot of the times. He's saying, well, we're talking about something, we're conversing, and then Lindsey, by her own, because Lindsey also kind of peeled back the curtain on this part and dug into why she does that, right? When she talked about, well, I had this inner turmoil thing between sad and mad, and I just lean into sad. And that's why Dr. Pepper said,
I lean into
mad. And that's why Dr. Pepper said, don't do that, because that pushes people away. That's what I've been saying about Lindsey for weeks. She's nasty, and that's what pushes Mark away, because they talk about something and she immediately goes to the low blow. She immediately goes to diminish him. She immediately goes to being Lindsey the Hulk, and it will push anybody away.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that she has to work on that, but I also think, and I really do stand by this, and this does not make it right, but this is just an observation that I've been having with Lindsey and Olajuwon. Mark does not give Lindsey anything. I mean, anything. Like we seen, she's sitting at the daggone volleyball thing, lean all the way over. She might as well have been in his lap, and he's sitting over on the other side like this, right? So sometimes people, and this is not, I'm just trying to offer another perspective, not trying to like hate. Sometimes people show up in that manner because any emotion that they get out of you is a good emotion for them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we see it as, oh, all she do is low blow and everything like that. I don't see it like that. I see it like she gets to a point where she feels like she's put in so much work, right? And she's not getting anything back. So she defaults to saying something nasty because at least she know he'll interact with her if she does that.
I think that in the beginning he was interacting with her and she was being nasty, and now he has better woman syndrome, and so that's why you see him going to a shell now. I think this stems back from him not having any experience in dealing with somebody like Lindsey. Like they said when they brought him on in the beginning, they said, we know that Lindsey is a lot, and in his first sit downs he was like, yeah, like you could tell, like he was just like a fish out of water. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. And I think now digging into also his past, now his default is that's his default. Like, I'm gonna sit there and I thought it was very
but that's
good
his
that
default for everything.
but I think that that's his default now because of how they were in the beginning. How
Oh,
he
it's for
how he would
sure. It's
how
for
you know what I
sure
mean?
that.
Because she
Yeah,
wouldn't meet
for sure.
him. She wouldn't meet him in a conversation. She would meet him with the Hawk, and now he's like, you know what I'm saying? I think that it was very good that Pastor Kyle dug into also like unveiling that this is a trigger for you. One, this comes back to your mother and your father, and you seeing
Yeah,
your mother act like Lindsey and your father doing nothing.
yeah.
And so I think, but this is why I thought this was one of the better episodes, because we need to see more of unpacking these actions and why these people are doing what they're doing and how to react to them. Because
And
this is how you navigate that space. Mark just met Lindsey an hour ago,
a
and
thousand
vice
percent.
versa. So when somebody comes with an instruction manual the size of a dictionary like Lindsey, you need help to navigate that. And I think that it, like you said, it goes back to they need to be having weekly sessions.
I just can't imagine being an adult and seeing my therapist twice a week, and then y'all don't, or like, we used to see our counselor every 2 weeks, not twice a week, every 2 weeks, and y'all only seeing these people once a month. It's really,
And they watching you. That's the thing that's annoying about it
but
too.
I also don't like that.
They're watching you. They're watching you, and they're not stepping in, except for the one this episode at the end where they're at the volleyball tournament, and then
And that's weird as shit
that was
too.
weird too, because everybody was like really off doing their thing. They was having a good vibe.
It was
They
weird.
had done the work all week long, and then y'all can't come to swoop in on Olajuwon or whatever it was.
Even
I
though
mean,
in what, not in a new world, I do wish sometimes, if I'm being honest, like sometimes I have really like not great days, or maybe you and I have had our argument or whatever the case may be. And I'm not gonna pretend like I don't wish that my therapist could see that. Like I wish that you could just watch it and then we could unpack it together. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
part of me gets it, but the other part of me is like, ooh,
yeah.
it's feeling Big Brother-esque, even though I'm watching it too. So it is kind of Big Brother-esque. But y'all understand what I'm saying. Y'all understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So yeah, Lindsey and Mark, do you think they're gonna stay together?
No. We was talking about that on Twitter too. I said somebody said Mark is going to say no before they ask him the question.
He's no.
So Mark, no.
I don't know. I feel like it could be great if they just figure it out, but
The one thing that they do have is commitment. I do believe that they are both committed to the process, unlike Jasmina and
let me say
the way
this.
Baltimore was.
But look at how even though Lindsay forecasts, even the way she speaks about Mark and everything like that, you can tell that it's steeped in her trying to have a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Like when
Yeah.
I listen to Jasmina and Michael, I really wonder what show are y'all even on?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that y'all gonna be married. Like I don't, let me move on. I'm so tired. So I want to talk about Olajuwon and Katina. When you see the interaction initially, we're not even getting to the point where he felt offended. You don't feel like when they first sat down, he was uncomfortable?
Yes, because I think he is conscious of how people view him, and
Mm-hmm.
and to be real raw, he's sitting down with a middle-aged white woman. And
Woo, you won't go where I was going.
yeah, because as a black man, I completely understand how we
It was
sometimes
very tone deaf.
we sometimes feel we have to tiptoe around certain people because of the way that we are stigmatized and the way that we will be viewed in the public if we do the same thing as anybody else doing, right? If we advocate for ourselves the same as anybody else, if we stand up for ourselves the same as anybody else, if we're emotional the same as anybody else, because we're black and men, it is perceived very differently. So I think that he definitely does. He's conscious of that when he's sitting down with somebody like Dr. Pepper, especially coming off the heels of everything else that has just transpired. And so I didn't even like that they sat him down, where I would prefer him sit down with Pastor Cal.
So first of all, that's where I was going. I don't know how many of you guys like really have invested in your mental health or whatever the case may be, but like finding a therapist is hard. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because you really are doing like a Rubik's Cube. It's got to be chemistry between you and your therapist. You got to feel safe,
You
whatever
got to
the
feel
case may
safe.
be.
You have to feel. That's the biggest thing,
You got to
because
feel safe.
lying to your therapist is like lying to your doctor. It's no point. It's you're wasting your time. So if
You
you
got
don't
to
feel
feel
like you have a
safe.
safe space, then it's a waste of time.
You have to feel advocated for, and you got to know that some people are figures of what's the discipline. So, excuse me.
Mhm.
Some people are figures of discipline. And I think that Olajuwon's mother is white, right?
I think so.
I think so. I think that, so personally, I can't have a black woman therapist. I just can't do it. And not to say that black women therapists aren't great. I'm so glad we have them. But I think that I come from a space of my mother was such a dominant presence in my life that it feels almost like that. And then I'm not as expressive and open as I would be. Um, as I've seen myself be, and this is me looking hindsight being 2020, as I've seen myself be with black men. Because my dad in my life was more like, well, the affectionate one and everything like that. You know, I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
I felt emotionally more safe there. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
I might be
Yes. That
reaching a
makes sense.
bit, but so it makes it easier for me to talk because I'm just like, I'll just say whatever I want to say or whatever.
Mhm.
And I think that Olajuwon immediately, when I saw him sit down, I'm like, he is uncomfortable. I don't
Yeah.
even know this man, but I know that this man is uncomfortable. You know
Yeah.
what
You
I
could
mean?
tell. You
And
could
you can
tell.
tell. And I wonder how they picked that because one part
I
is you
think they
can't put
picked
all
it
the black people
purposefully.
with the black people, and you can't put all the white people with the white people. But I do think that it's
But in
something
this
too.
situation, I think they picked it purposefully, because I think that in the past they would have picked Pastor Cal to go in there and speak to him.
Yeah. Do you think it was to challenge? Because what I think is happening is that he's getting a misogynistic narrative.
Yes.
And I think what he's getting is like this narrative that he's so misogynistic and everything like that. And I find it fascinating that they set him up with a woman, but I think it was because they needed a woman. They needed to show that a woman could challenge Olajuwon and check Olajuwon. Am I reaching?
I don't think you're reaching. I think that there was probably something to that. You know what I mean? But I also think that they may have produced it a little bit,
Oh, for
um,
sure.
because I think even the way she went into the conversation, Elijah had a point where he sat into the after the volleyball thing. He was talking and he was like, I really could have spent more time talking about my relationship and how to make it better, and instead I felt like it was accusatory, and I felt like
He was being
it was much more.
reprimanded.
I was being, yeah, and I said to somebody, it's funny because I said to somebody, it felt more like a principal reprimanding a delinquent student than a counselor or a therapist talking to a.
You breaking up.
If you've had sessions with therapists or counselors, um, it is it is probing. They ask questions. They ask probing questions. They try to get to somewhere, like Pastor Cal did. We're trying to uncover something, get to the root of something. This felt like I'm giving you statements that I heard you made, and I want you to respond to them, right? And so
But
to me, that was a little bit produced, and because this is still television. We get it. But I think that was a little bit produced and to create a little bit more drama within the Olajuwon space, because it is polarizing right now. It's it's red meat for the people. It's red meat for the comments. It's red meat for Twitter. And I think that's where it was born from, because I thought that everybody in comparison to that conversation had a lot more constructive sessions that got to the meat of issues, that was uncovering stuff, that was giving really good feedback.
accountability looks like you're being reprimanded when it's somebody you don't trust. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, yes, you are going to go into a therapist and they're going to say that was wrong. Why would you say
Right, but
that?
that's not what
What
she
made you say
did.
that? What well, she said that it's disconcerting to her and she finds it harmful that he speaks in a manner that almost denigrates Katina and
I
all.
don't have an issue with that. It was the approach that she went in with the this is what I heard, and this is what he said as well. This in the conversation with the volleyball people after volleyball. It was the thing of, well, this is what I heard you said about so and so, and this is what I heard you say. It was almost like you've ever had a disagreement with somebody, like a friend or somebody or a family member, and then you speak to somebody who you really don't know like that, and they like, well, I heard you say this, and I heard you say, and you're like the fuck, like what's going on? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and sitting down with professionals, you know, you don't expect that type of approach to a conversation, and that was the issue for me, and it sounded like that was the issue to him.
Yeah. I think that there's something actually to that. I felt like he was uncomfortable and I feel like you're going to get responses just like he gave when people are in uncomfortable situations because he felt like he had to defend himself as opposed to actually talking about what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
And that was what was unfortunate. Um it was unfortunate. Katina talks to Pastor Cal. Love their conversation. This is what I wish for Katina. I wish Katina. I see Katina, and I see like all these thoughts. You don't look at her and think she's thinking about so much right now. Like I
Yes.
know Katina has more
Yes.
opinions than she lets on.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So how did you feel about the like? And I feel like she be wanting to say stuff, and not to say that she doesn't, because she's like fearful and whatever, but more like she's very conscientious of what she says. I can appreciate
Oh
that.
yeah, and how she said in the same way that Olajuwon is, when you talked about, you can see how sometimes he will change his energy, like around somebody like Dr. Pepper. I think Katina is the same way, and she's very conscious, especially after um kind of letting go early on
Yeah,
in the show, where she was tested by um a Lindsey. She was tested by
yeah.
Lindsey, and she let
So we
go.
know she got
And I think that people are conscious about how they're viewed when they're having a conversation with somebody and there's three cameras in the room, right? And I think that especially black men and women,
Mm.
very conscious about that type of stuff. And so I think that you see that play out with Katina as well.
They went to the grocery store early in the that was early in this episode,
Yeah.
and it, it does feel. First of all, I don't know Katina, but everybody know how to make some fucking spaghetti. I'm sure the girl is out here getting some spaghettis together, whatever the case may be. And I do feel like sometimes Olajuwon can be, you know what though? That's how people play. And I think that Pastor Carol is right to say like this could be something fucking fire. Like if y'all really want this, it could be great. I think it's beautiful to watch them grow and everything like that. But I also think it's something to having black specialists on here because relationships are relationships, but because black people have out external traumas from other sources around them, and not that other people don't, but ours is really particular. I think that the way black people interact, encounter, or with each other looks a lot different from other people. And maybe
Yeah.
and other people, I'm sure, would say the same thing, right? Like Asian people would say the same thing. I think a lot of how Noi and Steve gets along, I don't understand because I think some of
Yeah.
it is rooted in
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's not really a thing of Olajuwon and Katina. It's not really a Katina and
No, no, no,
Olajuwon thing,
no.
right? In that aspect, everybody has aspects of their relationship that somebody on the outside might not get or understand,
Right.
right?
That's
It's
what I'm
it's
getting at. That's what I'm getting at.
it's whatever it is that works for you and your spouse. And at the end of the day, if those two are happy, then everybody else need to keep it moving and mind their business about that, right? And I think
Which
that,
is basically what the he said.
which is basically what he said, because which I understand, because it's the thing of, which is part of why he had this issue with the conversation they had with Dr. Pepper, because he's saying like, we is in a totally different space from what you're talking about or what you're referencing right now, right? And I think that even when he's sitting there at the volleyball, after volleyball, and they're talking about it, and he's like, my wife is happy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you, Katina has never, the way people talk about Katina is like she's the wife of Derek Jackson, right?
You are
And
absolutely right.
and it's and even Katina is like, no, that's not what's happening. And Olajuwon is on the same thing. Like, what are y'all talking about? You know what I mean? So I think that that's what it is. Like, I think that everybody has weird quirks and weird things about the relationship, how they play, how they joke, how they play with each other, how people talk to each other at certain times, how people interact with each other.
It would sound foreign to us, but you're not in the
that's not your relationship, right? Right.
Oh my God, I tell people that all the time. So the last thing I want to talk about is, and this probably should have been the first thing we talked about because I thought this was a really good talking point. Pastor Cal talked about lust in a marriage. Do you think lust isn't, because Katina said she was worried about being dick dizzy. I remember when me and my girls used to call it dickmatized, but the youth got a new word for it.
I think that it was very good of them. I can't remember which expert made this point, but they made the point of, I think it was Pastor Cal, thinking in a single mindset, right? Because being lustful or being dickmatized, right? When you're single, when you are doing your taxes and you're checking single, right? You could be in a relationship, but when you are legally single, being lustful and dickmatized is a negative thing, right? When you're married and you're legally bound to this person till death do you part, it's nothing wrong with being dizzy or lustful, right? I feel very dizzy about my wife. I feel very lustful about her to the point where I think it might get on her nerves, right? But we're married, so it doesn't. There's nothing about it that says shallow, or that says like you better be careful that it's something else like, you know what I'm saying, like we're doing life together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think people, it's just removing the old ideology from the single life of like, oh, I can't do that, I can't do this. It's breaking those bad habits. And this is something that just takes time because you've been single for 30 something years, right? And now you're married and you're trying to change the tide of like, it's okay for me to lust after my wife. And it's still, you know what I'm saying? Because that's my wife, you know?
And I want to say this. So yes, that, but also, do you think, I'm about to ask a question. Do you think that Olajuwon's his very assertive mannerisms and the way he is could be because he has not had sex in a certain period of time?
Yes.
You ain't know I was going there, did you?
I didn't, but I do think
that has something to do with it.
I do think that there's something to it because I find, this is a little bit of story time before we get out of here. I find that not only myself, but also my wife tends to be a little bit on edge when we are not as physical, as intimate. Yes, let's say that. When we are not as intimate for a stretch of time, I find that it's just a little bit, there's just a little bit more edge to everything, right? Even if it's not us interacting, it could be me at work and her at work, right? I find that there's that when we are more intimate, more frequently, I move different in the world. I'm not even talking about her. I think I move different in the world. And so I think that there's definitely something to that.
But don't be doing that, y'all, because them motherfuckers think you supposed to be swinging from chandeliers Monday through Sunday, and ain't nobody got time for that.
No, you ain't got to swing from chandeliers. You could just do droplets, little tincture droplets.
Your booty up a little bit.
Let me tell you something. 5 minutes goes a long way for somebody's week. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
No, love for real. I think that is something too, and I think it's weird that they didn't ask him that either. Like, ask them, like, because my question:
how is this affecting you? It's a simple question.
My question is, how long have you gone without intimacy before?
Right.
Because that matters too. Because your body he might be going through fucking withdrawal, and that's the person we getting on the screen. You know, but then it's gonna come out they was fucking the whole time. Watch. Let me tell you, no. That's what they love to do. No, we're not doing that. And then you get to we was doing it the whole time. Y'all are weirdos. Weird. Oh my God, just weird. But no, not them. I'm talking about the people.
Yeah.
But I think that it's something too, maybe even that it needed to be explored a little bit more
Oh, for
before we start calling Olajuwon all these things.
yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? But I do want Katina.
Which is why I wish that they would have spent more valuable time digging and probing and getting to the root of things between them. Like
Yeah.
Elijah had a point in that. Like they're like if you've been in a good therapy session, you feel like you leave thinking like I really uncovered some shit today. You know what I
Or
mean?
you feel like shit, but that's
Yeah,
because you uncovered
because you
something
uncovered
today.
some shit. Right.
That's what you know what I mean? Like, and it's like I feel like, it was adversarial, one because of who it was. And he felt like he was being reprimanded. And I think that he wasn't able to show up with his most authentic thoughts and self, and he was trying, but I think it didn't give what it was supposed to give. So but it was fascinating. What do you guys think? Do you think lust is important in a marriage? Like, is that something that you and your spouse that y'all like explore, or do you think it's better to be more reserved? Like, what does that look like for you guys? Bust down. I'm Dick Dizzy over here, and I miss my husband. Okay. And I guess we'll see you beautiful mother jumpers later. My husband has to go make some money so he can pay our bills.
Yes.
Love you guys. Subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you later.